Class 10 English from the diary of Anne Frank. Let us read about the author. Anne Frank was born on 12 June 1929. She was a German-born Jewish girl who wrote while in hiding with her family and 4 friends in Amsterdam during the German occupation of the Netherlands in World War II. Her family had moved to Amsterdam after the Nazis gained power in Germany, but were trapped where the Nazi occupants extended into the Netherlands. As a persecution against the Jewish population increased, the family went into hiding in July 1942 in hidden rooms in her father Otto Frank's office building. They were hiding, and there she stayed there for 2 years. They were hiding. Anne Frank, her sister, her family members, and there 30 more people were there. And she was feeling very lonely, and then she decided to write her thoughts in her diary. The diary was presented to her by her father on her birthday. She thought paper is having more patience than paper, because as and how you write, you can write as much you want, and there is no judgmental. It is not a judgmental. Nobody is there to criticize what you have written, and you can write all your thoughts in the form of a diary. And then she decided to write a diary. And then later on, after when she died, after in that hiding period only, she died, and many members were betrayed by these Nazis, and only survivor was her father. And when the World War ended, her father went back to Amsterdam, and he found the diary written by Anne Frank. It was originally written in Dutch. He got it translated, and he decided to get it published. And then he got it published. First translation was in English, and there is a full novel, pages from Diary of a Young Girl, and this is an extract from that. Now let us see what she has written in the diary. She wrote about her life, she wrote about her school days, how she studied and who were her teachers, everything in a very beautiful manner. And let us read what she has written in her diary. Generally small children, she thought she was only a 13-year-old who will be interested in reading her diaries. But it was very famous. It became very famous all over the world. It was translated into 60 languages. And her father was Otto Frank. He was the only survivor. They were hiding in his office building, where she spent 2 years in hiding. She was very much attached to her grandmother. So about her grandmother also she wrote in a diary. She wrote about her friends, her school time also in the diary. Let us read now. Writing in a diary is really a strange experience for someone like me. Not only because I have never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on, neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Musings means thoughts. Nobody will be interested, neither she nor others will be interested in reading her thoughts, what she has written in the diary. But that was not true. Everybody was interested, everybody came to know about this. Oh, well, it doesn't matter, I feel like writing, and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. Whatever thought she had in mind, whatever was in her heart, she wanted to write everything in the form of a diary. Very beautifully she says, paper has more patience than people. You cannot disclose everything to people. People may not be interested in listening to you. They may not like the ideas that you have, the thoughts they have. They might criticize you. They may judge you also. But paper doesn't do all these things. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hands. Chin in my hands, she was thinking like this, sitting like this, thinking about the situation at that time was during the Second World War. Bored and listless. She had no energy, no interest in doing anything. She was very much bored. That is quite natural. Wondering whether to stay in or go out. I finally stayed where I was doing. Yes, paper does have more patience. And since I am not planning to get anyone else read this stiff back notebook kindly referred to as diary unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a big difference. She didn't want others to read it. She wanted to express her thoughts. That is what is a diary meant for. After this lesson, even now you will be able to learn, improve your writing skills. You will also be able to write diary. All everyday's events you can write in a form of diary. Whatever thoughts come to you, how you spent your day, you can write in a diary. Very famous people's diaries only later on becomes as autobiographies. Now I am back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. She was all alone. There were so many people, but she missed friend. There was no true friend with whom she can share her thoughts or the feelings. So she decided to write in a diary. Let me put it more clearly, since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world. Yes, nobody will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone. She was not alone. She had a family. She had an elder sister. I can call friends. I have a family, loving aunts and a good home. No, on the surface, I seem to have everything except my one true friend. All I think about when I am with friends is having a good time. I can't bring myself to talk about anything but ordinary everyday things. We don't seem to be able to get any closer, and that is the problem. Maybe it is my fault that we don't confide in each other. We don't generally disclose all our things to others. We don't confide. We keep it with ourselves only. So she said, don't have friends. I have many friends, but not a close one. There were 30 people nearly getting there. In any case, that is just how things are. And unfortunately, they are not liable to change. This is why I have started the diary. She thought if she wants to share her views, share her thoughts, who is there to listen? She doesn't have a friend with whom she can confide. So then she decided to write in the diary. She decided to write a diary every day. To enhance the image of this long-awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would do. But I want the diary to be my friend, and I am going to call her Kitty. So she wanted to jot down all the points what she wanted to. It's not the daily routine and all the important facts what happened on that particular day. She wanted to write. She wanted to share it with the diary, and she called it Kitty. Since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty, if I were to plunge right in, I would better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. She doesn't like to do it, but she decided to write her brief sketch of it. My father, Annie Frank's father, the most adorable father I have ever seen, didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. My sister, Margaret, was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926. I was born on 12th June 1929. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. So till 4 years she was in Frankfurt. She had an elder sister. What was her elder sister's name? Margot. My father emigrated to Holland. Emigrated means shifted. Migrated to Holland in 1933. My mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with my grandmother. Margot went to Holland in December and I followed in February. So, both of them were staying with their grandmother, Margot, Anne Frank's elder sister, and Anne Frank. And in December, Margot shifted to Holland. In February, Annie also joined them. I started right away at the Montessori Nursery School. I stayed there until I was 6, at which time I started in the first form. In the sixth form, my teacher, Mrs. Kuprios, the headmistress, at the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heartbreaking farewell. So she was there for Montessori to 6th class. She studied there and she was feeling very sad when she was leaving the school. In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with a little celebration. She could not celebrate her birthday as her grandmother was sick. This happened in the year 1941. Grandma died in January 1942. No one knows how often I think of her and still love her. She was very much attached to her grandmother and she missed her a lot. This birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other, and Grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. The four of us are still doing well, and that brings me to the present date of 20th June 1942 and the solemn dedication of my diary. Then she started writing her diary. Everything was okay till 20th of June 1942. Here I am going to read now how she writes, how she expresses her diary, and this is about her school days. What we read about her child life when she was in Frankfurt. Later she shifted to Holland along with her parents. Dearest Kitty. Who is Kitty? The diary, she named it as Kitty, and she has written this on Saturday 20th June 1942. And the World War II was still going on. Our entire class is quaking in boots, miss. They were all shivering in fear. They were trembling. Shaking in boots means they were shaking with fear and nervousness. It was the result day. It was to be decided who will be promoted and who was to be detailed in the same class. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will move up to the next form and who will be kept back. Half of the class making bets. Gian and I laughed ourselves silly at the two boys behind us, Cian and Jacques. She is explaining about mentioning her friends' names, and they were all betting who will be promoted, who will be staying back, who is going to repeat the same class, who will be promoted, and they were even betting. Who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. From morning to night it is, you are going to pass? No, I am not. Yes, you are. No, I am not. Even GS pleading glances on my angry outburst can't calm them now. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back, but the teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on the earth. She was thinking, there are so many students. Dummies means they are not that very intelligent, but they were promoted, and there were few students they were supposed to be studying the same class again. So she is saying that the teachers are most unpredictable creatures on the earth. I am not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. We'll make it. The only subject I am not sure about is maths. She was scared in maths. She was not very perfect in maths. Maths may be her toughest subject. Anyway, all we can do is wait. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. Don't lose your hope. All of us will be promoted. This is what happens generally when you write your exam and waiting for the results. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them. There were 9 teachers in her school, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Kesik. She's remembering the teacher, her maths teacher. Name of the teacher was Mr. Kesik, the old-fashioned person who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talked so much. He was angry with Annie because she used to talk a lot in the class. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework and essay on the subject, a chatterbox. How many times the teacher told not to talk, she never used to listen. So, as a punishment, the maths teacher asked her to write an essay on the topic, a chatterbox. What is a chatterbox? A person who talks always is known as chatterbox. A chatterbox. What can you write about that? Said sir. I would worry about that later. I decided, I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked it in my bag and tried to keep quiet. Then she accepted the punishment given to her by the maths teacher. What did the maths teacher ask her to do? He asked her to write an essay on the topic, the title, the chatterbox. She accepted and she kept quiet. That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. She remembered what homework was, extra homework was given to her by her maths teacher. That was writing an essay on the topic chatterbox. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone would ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing argument to prove the necessity of talking. So she decided I can write something giving more space and just 2 lines and something. But she was thinking that how to convince that talking in the class is also very much essential. I thought it and suddenly I had an idea. I wrote 3 pages Mr. Keesing had assigned me and was satisfied. I argued that talking is a student's trait. She argued that it is students' right. It is a quality of the students that they always talk. That is what even generally we observe. How many times we tell students for a few minutes they keep quiet and again they continue talking. So she said it is a student's right. It's a quality of the student. I would never be able to cure myself of that habit since my mother talked as much I did, if not more, and that there is not much you can do about inherited traits. And she said, I got this quality from my mother. My mother talks as much I can. She also used to talk, so this is in the genes, and then I got this quality from my mother, so you cannot do anything, there is nothing to be done about this. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments. But when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second lesson. Then at that time, Mr. Keesing, the maths teacher, was satisfied. He just laughed. And then the next class, again she was talking. So what did the sir do now? Again he gave her an assignment, and this time what was the topic? The incorrigible chatterbox, means which cannot be, something that cannot be corrected. Which is a bad habit, which cannot be corrected. So now first time essay's topic was a chatterbox. Second time it was incorrigible, means which cannot be corrected. So again incorrigible chatterbox. Again as a punishment she had to write another essay on this topic, an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it in and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. Then she wrote, submitted 2 lessons. Mr. Keesing, the maths teacher, did not complain. And then, however, during the 3rd lesson, he had finally had enough. And Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled. Now, she was continuing with her habits. Maths teacher was continually giving her punishment. 3rd time, what was the topic? Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. So, the first title was Chatterbox. She wrote, submitted. Teacher was satisfied. Second time again incorrigible, it cannot be corrected, that chatterbox. 3rd time quack quack, who says quack quack? Done. So quack quack said Mistress Chatterbox. This was the topic. 3rd time also as a punishment she was asked to write an essay. The class roared. Everybody laughed in the class. I had to laugh too, though I had nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. 3 times she had written about this chatterbox. So now she felt that what am I going to write now? Oh, it was time to come up with something else, something original. My friend Sam, who is good at poetry, offered to help me write an essay from beginning to end in verse, and I jumped for joy. Then one of her friends helped her. She was good at poetry. This time she decided to write it in the form of a poem. What was the topic again? About the chatterbox. Only the title was little different at quack quack, said Mrs. Chatterbox. Now, when her friend helped and she was happy, she jumped for joy. Mr. Keesing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I would make sure the joke was on him. So he was trying to make a joke on her, but it was turned. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with three baby ducklings who were beaten to death by the father because they quacked too much. So this is the topic she chose to write, and she wrote a beautiful poem. Luckily, Mr. Kesing took the joke the right way. He read the poem to the class, adding his own comments and to several other classes as well. So she really liked it very much. He read it in the class with his own comments, and he read it in other classes also, which was written by Anne. Since then, I have been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra work. On the contrary, Mr. Kesing is always making jokes these days. So the teacher was satisfied. Who was the teacher? Mr. Kesing. He used to teach maths, and she was not that good at maths. She was scared of maths, that we have seen in the beginning of the lesson that she has written. She was worried about the maths, and 3 times assignment was given, 3 times successfully she completed. Third time it was in the form of a poetry. So this is about the real life of Anne Frank. When did she write this diary? When she was hiding in Amsterdam, and Nazis took over, and this happened during the Second World War. You would have read about Second World War. Then in the year 1945 the war ended, and Annie lost her life in 1942. Her sister also died, and when father was the only survivor among all the people, those who were hiding there. And when he went back to Amsterdam, he found the diary, and then he decided that the diary should be printed, and he called it, he gave the name Diary of a Young Girl. Originally it was written in Dutch, and then he got it translated. First time in English, later on in other languages also. And the diary is about her life and her school life, her childhood, how she missed her grandmother, and how they were staying there without any friends. She decided, she felt that paper is the best friend whom she can confide everything, because whatever she wants to write, there is no, it is all not judge, it is not criticized. So she was happy to write in the form of diary, but she was not aware that many people would read her diary. She was thinking that who will read, who is interested in reading a 13-year-old girl's diary. So after this lesson, you will be able to learn about, will be able to improve your writing skills. You know how to, what is the importance of writing a diary, and you also got the knowledge about the Second World